Yes, welcome back, Loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast, and it is an ISLA RA for you on this episode of episodes, episode 99. I am one of your high priests, Ray, and I have a very special guest tonight as we sit fine here in Grant Mansion. I have one of, I guess you'd say, one of our loonies that have been with our community, like, almost from the start, I believe, and we're very happy to have on our show to do an ISLA RA, Midkine, or MK. How are you, MK?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's finally great to be here.
That's really cool. I mean, we've been talking for a while to try to get you on because you have been in and around the ITK community for a while, online, chatting in our Loony bin, posting up stuff and commenting. It's a real honour to have you on the show here up at Grant Mansion, of course. Do you like the decor here, MK? Does it suit your does it suit you? You know, the leather chairs here. We've got the bearskin rug, the crackling fire. Are you nice and comfy here?
Yeah, it's really comfy. I could get to sleep actually.
Well, let's hope that you don't go to sleep, because we've got an awesome episode coming up for you and for the Loony listeners out there. So, Loonies, you might be wondering where the crazier half of your high priest are, Khonshu. Khonshu unfortunately cannot be with us, but he does send his regards, and we'll be hoping to catch up with Connor when we can, and I'm sure MK, you'll cross paths with him many a time in our Facebook group. But as many of you Loonies know, with every waning gibbous, so if you look up in the moon, you look at the sky at the moon, and you look at Khonshu, you'd probably see it is a waning gibbous, which in layman's terms is kind of almost maybe a full moon, becoming a full moon. And anyway, so with the waning gibbous, we are bound by Khonshu to do an ISLA RA, and an ISLA RA is basically 4 top books picked by your favourite loonies if they were stranded on a desert island, or in this case an ISLA RA. So we have MK here. I'm going to have to get used to calling you MK, because I always just know you as Midkine. But and we obviously get to know MK a little bit more as well. So the other added advantage of an ISLA RA is not only to be exposed to maybe comic books that you won't usually or usually consider reading, but also to get to know your loonies a bit more. And we are just so proud to have loonies from all over the world. And MK, you herald from those great islands called the Philippines, yep?
Yep, I'm from the Philippines, and
yeah, we're
I'm currently located in the capital, I think. Yes.
Oh, in Manila?
In the national capital region, yes.
Okay, right. I'm not sure if other loonies know, my background is Filipino as well. Kind of grew up in Australia. I've got a lot of family over there. I've got some cousins and aunts and uncles in Marikina, which I believe is kind of in and around Manila, yeah?
Yes, it's near.
Mm-hmm. And my mum was from Nasugbu, Batangas, which is more of a country, kind of rural side. Is that correct? Have you been there, MK?
I haven't been there. That's really far, about more than 4 hours, I think.
Yeah, well, oh God, tell me about the traffic though, eh? The traffic in the Philippines is, oh my gosh, it is hard going. Do you drive over there?
I'm sorry?
Do you drive over in the Philippines?
I mostly commute. I even haven't got my card yet. My driver's license card.
Oh, that's okay. That's not a problem at all. So I guess for other loonies here, tell us a bit more about yourself, MK. So you're from the Philippines. How did you come across the Into the Night podcast or the community?
It's been a year actually.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Oh man, I'm so forgetful. I I don't know if who I encountered first, Moon Knight Core or the Into the Night group, but I was but I think I was kind of bored and was looking for Moon Knight stuff when I encountered, and we were small at that time. I don't know if I don't know if next after our community started, but yeah, I remember we were really small back then when I joined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's been great to slowly grow ever since then.
Yeah,
and you've been a staple.
I'm really proud.
I'm sorry.
I'm really proud how our community grows.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Everyone brings a bit of something to share, and you have fantastic collections of comics and Moon Knight paraphernalia. It's really good. You did you not start in Comic Vine? I remember you mentioned.
Oh, yes. Actually, way before the comic core pages and the communities and the groups in Facebook, I was regularly in comicvine.com.
Yeah, so Comic Vine, is that a really good site and a good forum place? I've never used it before, but I have come across it a lot of times.
It used to be a really, really good site for comic news, previews, and the forum site.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, maybe the lack of support for the writers' side caused the writers to go away, and it was just absorbed by GameStop. And in my opinion, the only thing that's keeping it alive now is the forums. The forums are still there.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes.
I was saying, like, do you go on Reddit and stuff? Like, Reddit's like a big forum. Again, that's something I've never really used myself. I know a lot of loonies do use it. Is Reddit something that you use?
I use Reddit, but it's really occasional. I think I used to frequent it because I was really active in making memes in the past months. So I went there for meme templates and such.
Oh, okay.
But I don't really dig deep in Reddit. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, Comic Vine. I do get the sense that they did have a bit of a gaming vibe as well. I know a lot of loonies do love their games, so I wonder if it's still kind of popular and popularly used. I guess, I don't know, amongst gamers. I'm talking about something I know completely nothing about. MK. So, but I'm glad that you found Into the Night, and I'm glad that you found Moon Knight Core. A big shout out to Moon Knight Core. Those guys are absolutely awesome. They carry, if we carry the torch for Moon Knight, these guys carry the bonfire for them. They do really do make it known online about Moon Knight, and they do it in such a funny way. It's really cool. I can imagine they were quite attractive to you, MK, because you mentioned just then that you did a lot of memes. So I mean, those guys live and breathe memes, don't they?
Yeah, real big shout out to Moon Knight Core, those awesome mad lads. they're really, really good.
They are.
They don't. I don't know. They have fresh content every time, and
I know.
I'm still surprised. I'm still surprised about that.
Yeah,
the content they serve.
I know. I can't believe it. They just constantly bring it, and they're all funny as well. So, yeah. I mean, we try to inject a little humor in our show, but not as much as those guys. Those guys are top. So, a big shout out to Bobby and to Dave. If I remember my old man brain, big shout out to you guys. You're doing a great job, and we're just so glad to be associated with you. Anyway, also bringing it back, MK, to why you're here. Oh, actually, hang on. Let me ring the dinner bell. Okay, so I've just summoned Samuels, the ever-suffering butler, to Mark Spector. He's on his way. He's soon. Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? Do you want anything to drink or eat?
Maybe just water.
Just water. Oh, come on, MK. We've got Grant Mansion. You can have anything you want.
Maybe a can of Dr. Pepper.
Okay,
hang on.
Okay. Oh, hello, Samuels. Hi. Yes.
Samuels.
Yeah. Yes, it is another Loony. Yes, it is our ISLA RA time. Yeah. So you're on the clock. And our good guest here, MK, he would love a Dr. Pepper, please. Yes, that's right. He's called MK. Yeah, no, I know the association. We're just glad that he's a Loony as well. All right, and now for me, can I get me a glass of red? Actually, why not, eh? Let's live a little. Thank you, Samuels. Thank you. All right, off he goes. Okay, MK, he'll be back with the drink soon. But while we wait for that,
sweet.
Yeah, just make yourself comfy here. These plush leather seats here. It's a bit chilly outside, so the crackling fire's on. We've got a bit of music in the background to make it nice and toasty. And just a reminder now to Loonies as well. So MK has chosen his top 4 books. Now, as you'll probably see in the show notes, they're kind of encrypted. Now, you can choose to click on the links and have a look at the comics that MK has chosen and kind of prepare yourself for our discussion ahead, or you can just choose to be surprised as we reveal each one of them. Now, there is a point of difference here, MK. Let me just say it from the outset. Half of your books would be pretty hard to get if you were outside of the Philippines. Would that be correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yes, but they are no less enjoyable, let me tell you. So we are going to really give this a red hot go once we get into it. But before we do, and as always, we'd like to know a little bit more about our Loonies. And I jumped the gun a bit, MK, by asking you about how you found, the likes of Moon Knight Core and the ITK community. We usually ask the same things to all our guests, and the first thing right off the bat would be comics. So how did you, number one, when did you get into comics, and how did you get into comics? What was your first ever memory of picking up a comic and going, yep, I'm going to be reading these for a long time to come?
That is a really good question you got there. The first experience, I think the first experience I've got with comics was I don't know how young was I that time, but back in our province, a local mall decided to sell comics of Superman and Spider-Man, and they were just, I think, $2 each, I think, in US equivalent. And man, I was so I don't know, I didn't want to go home not before buying at least one of them.
Yeah. What drew you to it? Like, did you just stumble across this store, Or how did you? What kind of attracted you to go look at these comics? Just the covers or something?
Maybe my past experience in watching cartoons of, the likes of Spider-Man, Superman, animated series, Batman, Justice League, and the likes. Maybe that was that piqued my interest in those issues that I saw, and back then as far as I can remember, it was Spectacular Spider-Man, I think, and
awesome.
The Superman issues were all random, and I remember what I bought was the animated series Superman issue. I don't remember which. But
there was a comic on the animated series?
Yeah, I think, because the art was really animated series style, Bruce Timm's. And it was the guys that escaped the Phantom Zone, I think, that issue.
Right.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Cool. Are you still a fan of Spider-Man and Superman to this day?
Superman, not that much, but I appreciate his iconic. Yeah. I can't exactly describe it, but I appreciate Superman. Really.
I've got to laugh because my other co-host, I do another podcast, Last Sons of Krypton. We do a Superman podcast. Oh, look, I'm still kind of learning about Superman, and my co-host Connor is a huge fan. So I've just got to have a bit of a dig at him there. It's funny that you've kind of faded off there, but look, that's not going to deter me from the character. How about Spider-Man? Spectacular Spider-Man, you said. I grew up on Spectacular Spider-Man too. Sal Buscema, I think, was on the art. I'd be hard pressed to know who the writer was back then, because the artist was a lot bigger than the writer. Back then, you could argue, but do you still hold a candle to Spider-Man?
I recently went back. Let's see. Let me describe this. The run that I encountered that got me back to Spider-Man was Superior, I think, because at the time that Superior went out, the fans were just divided in the comic vine forums.
There were death threats. Dan Slott was being threatened with death.
It was a real shitstorm, and I really like the intrigue that came with it. And in my opinion, it was good. It was pulled off nicely, decently. Yeah. And it served a precursor to Spider-Verse, so I can't complain. Spider-Verse was awesome.
Spider-Verse is great. Yeah, I love it as well. And it is funny, isn't it? It's like a bit of a storm in a teacup with a lot of comic book fans. What Dan Slott did was very controversial because it was against the character. You had the likes of Dr. Octopus becoming Spider-Man, which is, a massive no-no because it's never been done before. But what you comic fans don't realise is that this is exactly what writers do. They've done for years and years and years. They have to push the envelope. You can't have your stock standard stories about Spider-Man versus Shocker versus Green Goblin. You've got to do something interesting and different, and it happens time and time again. I'm sure, MK, you've seen with other comics that you collect. We can talk about stuff like Secret Empire with Cap America turning bad. I mean, that just brought death threats again to Nick Spencer. These comic fans, they just what are you doing? But it's always the same. It's sooner or later the hero will come round. And you see that with Superior Spider-Man. Peter Parker is back, And like, we're back where we wanted. So all this kind of panic and hoo-ha, I find it hilarious. And I totally agree with you as well. It was a very solid run. I mean, Dan Slott, he spent the better part of, 10 years writing Spider-Man?
Yeah, it was really long.
Really long. And of course there were highs and lows. But I think his Superior Spider-Man arc was just, groundbreaking. It was fantastic. Who would have thought to have Doc Ock as Spider-Man, And it's not ridiculous, because you look at Spider-Man with his history with the Clone Saga. I mean, everything ridiculous has happened to Spider-Man, so why can't you have Doc Ock becoming Spider-Man, inhabiting his body, So yeah, I found it hilarious. I think it's great, but I'm glad that you totally enjoy it. Are you reading the current run now with Nick Spencer?
I kind of stopped after Spider-Verse, and it's a shame I missed Spider-Geddon. Really?
That was good. That was okay. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Spider-Verse is a lot. I think I still prefer Spider-Verse. So I'm like you. I really do love that event. Spider-Geddon's okay. It was solid. It was enjoyable. And yeah, I would recommend it if you could get it.
One of my books in the pull list is Spider-Man Life Story, so there's that.
Ooh,
I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Really enjoying Zdarsky's stuff right now.
Oh, Zdarsky's he's killing it, isn't he? I love his Daredevil. I don't know if you're a Daredevil fan. Oh man, we've got to talk MK. But yeah,
I never bought a Daredevil until you guys suggested Zdarsky's Daredevil.
Man,
and
it is good. Yeah,
it's really good.
And how good is Mark Gicchetto's art? The art there is just fantastic as well. In Daredevil.
I second that. Really, it's such good art, such good writing.
Yeah.
The twists. I haven't read number 4 yet though, but damn.
I haven't read it as well. Yeah, I'm really behind, but I've loved 1, 2, and 3 so far, and generally they say, don't they? Like if you stick with at least 3 issues to get a sense of where things are heading. 3 issues in, I'm already invested. It's really cool. Any other titles? Whilst there aren't any Moon Knight titles, are there any other titles that you're currently following, MK, that you want to give a shout out to?
I think I want to give a shout out to our Valiant boys. I'm currently buying Life and Death of Toyo Harada. It's really good.
You like it?
It's really good.
Yeah, I like it as well. I've only read the issue 1, but I'm already really, really into it. Toyo Harada would have to be one of the most complex villains going around.
Yes, he's one of the villains I can put the nobody did nothing wrong tag on.
Exactly. Yeah, you can actually justify. Like, I mean, I should gotta be careful. Careful what I say, because he does kill a lot of people. But you know what I mean. You can understand totally where he's coming from and totally what he wants to do. Like, compared to like Magneto, there's a bit of empathy there. Like, he wants to stand up for mutants, but he also wants to kill a hell of a lot of humans, which you kind of like, well, that's not really a good thing, is it? But with Toyo, he's kind of like Magneto, but just amped up a bit, and he's So, any other Valiant titles that I mean, there's plenty, aren't there? God, we could spend a whole episode talking about Valiant titles. Recently just announced, but sorry, by the time this episode comes out, it's probably common knowledge, but just recently announced was one of my favourite writers, Dennis Hopeless.
He's taking over Ecto Manowar.
Yeah, how cool is that? And there's a cover by Christian Ward as well, so some loonies would know he drew Black Bolt, and he won an Eisner for it as well. So a top artist.
Wow.
Yeah. He's doing at least the covers. I don't know if he's doing the interior art for EXO, but Dennis Hopeless, or as he's using his real name now, Hallam, So Dennis Hallam. That would be really cool to see. But yeah. Valiant, big shout out, good stuff. MK. I knew I could rely on you, MK, to fly the Valiant flag. That was very good. How about any classic? Are you doing any like any reads of older runs or older like trades that you're quite interested in at the moment?
Not at this moment, but I've last time I had a real steal somewhere. I bought a Walking Dead book 1 for about like $4, and it was really surprised to see it.
Wow! What that book 1? How many issues does that collect?
Oh man, I forgot. I didn't read how many issues it contained, but I haven't finished it yet.
Okay. Because I've got the compendium. I don't know if that's book 1. It's a really thick one. I think it.
It's hardbound, right?
Oh no, mine isn't. No. So yours is that. Yeah, I know the hardbound ones. They're a bit thinner. I think I got like the omnibus, but just a soft cover of it, and it contains a hell of a lot. Like it took me ages to read. But did you enjoy it? Have you read most of it? Have you done it? Have you read it?
I'm a bit halfway.
Yeah. Do you like it?
On the book, and it's kind of a heavy read actually for me.
It is. Oh man, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The what you call it? The atmosphere and the drama is just it's kind of heavy for me. That's why it's taking long to read.
Yeah. True. I can't agree more. It's very much like the earlier seasons of the show. It is very and sometimes it doesn't really bother too much about the zombies, and it's more about the relationships between the people, which make it heavy.
True.
Which is really good. Actually, and that ties into, we'll get to it, your top 4 books, but that was something I picked and I really wanted to discuss with you about the type of comics that you did, which you chose, which were fantastic. That's pretty cool. The next thing that we usually ask as well, hang on, it's all right. Here's Samuels. Thank you, Samuels.
Thank you, Samuels.
Yeah, there you go. And that's my red. Thank you, Samuels. You filled it to the brim. That's why we like you. Thank you very much. That's a full glass of wine there. Thank you. And look, should we, if we get peckish, we might give you another bell, Samuels. Is that okay? All right. Thank you. See you later. All right. There you go, MK. We are stocked up now with our drinks. To kind of wet the palate there. Now, what we were going, I was going to ask before I was rudely interrupted by Samuels, was Moon Knight. So how did you come across Moon Knight? Although you kind of, I guess, partially answered it. Yeah. And well, then, what kind of made you? I mean, tell us a bit more. Like, tell us your kind of way of thinking when you saw Moon Knight, and it was the Ellis run and stuff. So, what appealed to you from it? Like, why did it kind of make you come back and go, okay, I'm going to investigate this character more? And it may have been because of Moon Knight Core as well. But yeah, I mean, how did you get bitten by the Moon Knight bug?
Let's see. I think it was a preview for one of the issues of Alice Run, and it was. I tried it out. I tried it out by not so legal terms. I'm sorry for the
You're so polite.
You know,
Right, MK. That's okay. I think everyone does it. No one says it, but everyone does it to some capacity. So yeah. So you okay. So you picked up a copy. Sure.
Yes.
Which issue was this?
I think I started with the LS run.
Oh, you mean so from issue
really
1?
my first.
Okay, so from issue 1 to 6 then.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Issues 1 to 6, and it just really dragged me in. The one shots were really good each and every issue.
Yeah.
Especially when let's see, issue number 2 was Sniper, issue number 3. What issue was the mushrooms again? I forgot.
Issue 4.
Yeah, issue 4. Issue 4 was really trippy.
Yeah, that was Sleep, I think it was called, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was really cool to explore one aspect up to another. You know, street level, then mystical side. Then...
That's the beauty of Moon Knight, because it is, like, on face value a street level thing, but you got the supernatural aspects. You've got the, the weird, mystical thing of, and a lot of it has to do with Ellis, with that issue 4 bit. Then you've got the out and out action of, say, issue 5 going up that tenement, which is, that's my God, all time favorite. I mean, like. The
action scenes were godly in there. Really,
they were good, weren't they? They were, made and drawn for cinema and for TV. You can imagine seeing that on the screen. It was really good. And I'm not sure if you've listened to a few episodes ago. Actually, now we had Noel Tate, the frontman from Deleta, who provide the music to our podcast. They are releasing in, I think, the American summer, which is, that would be your dry season. Is that right? I think it's your dry season.
Summer.
Yeah. It's winter for us in the Southern Hemisphere. So that's in June, July, August. Anyway, Deleta are releasing a 6-track EP, MK, which I think you'd love. Each track is based on each of the issues of the Ellis run.
Oh, sweet!
I know. How good is that?
That's really sick. I'm on that episode, but I haven't finished it yet. So yeah.
No, I haven't listened. Noel is a great. Yeah, he's a great thing. But we talk about it towards the end of the episode. And really good insight into how he approaches each of those issues, which is fully can't wait for that. So your gateway drug, so to speak, MK, is the Ellis run. What drug did you pick after that, like of the Moon Knight run? So what volume did you go for? Did you go for the Lemire or the Houston or?
Yeah, it's really funny because. To be honest, I haven't really read much of the previous runs before Alice, except for the back issues I've bought. Yeah, and I'm grateful that I bought them, except for the Bendis. You know my opinion on Bendis.
Oh, look, everyone has an opinion, which is fine. It's all valid because everyone's tastes are different. No, I'm just trying to say MK as well, just in case there are, many Bendis fans, obviously, out there. But yeah, okay, fair enough. So, what volume was it that you kind of looked at next, immediately after the Ellis run?
I did the Lima run, and that was the art. Oh man, I'm really a fan of Greg Smallwood.
Oh, he is amazing, isn't he? Far out. He just and he featured earlier on as well. I think he was in the is it the it was the Brian Wood run. So it was a run immediately after Warren Ellis.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so he did
yes, I forgot. Brian Wood and Colin Bunn, I think, right?
Yes,
after Alice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you read them as well, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. No, they're good as well in their own right. Smallwood, it's still fantastic, but he really hits his stride with Jeff Lemire. I think he really matures as an artist. Not to say during that Lemire run, but around that time, like, he was really starting to come into his own. He does a lot of covers now. I'm not sure if you collect The Punisher by Matt Rosenberg, but he does he does all the covers to the Punisher series at the moment, which is pretty cool.
Let's see. I haven't collected the recent Punisher run yet, but I've also seen Smallwood doing covers for Shadow Man, I think.
Yes. Yeah, Shadow Man.
Yeah,
I love the name. I love the shout out there, MK.
I just remembered it.
You're ticking all the boxes here, fantastic. Shadow Man is bloody awesome. Anyone out there? Andy Diggle, again, Renata Guedes, a fantastic run. Anyway, so so Ellis was your. It's funny because having spoken to many loonies, MK, it's so funny the differences of how people get into Moon Knight. One of the main ones that we found was through gaming, like Ultimate Alliance.
Oh yeah,
a lot of loonies that he seems to be very successful as an avatar in gaming, and it's funny because he is a B grade character in the Marvel universe, but he seems to be so popular and so effective in the gaming world. So it's funny, a lot of people get into him then, but there's no problem at all to stumble on him with Warren Ellis. It's kind of like you stumble on to one of the really good runs first, I would hate to think if you stumbled on to, say, Fist of Khonshu, volume 2, I don't know, there might be lovers out there for him, but have you read that one?
I have, I think, 1 or 2 issues here, and it was really, really kind of weird, I think.
It was a bit strange, wasn't it?
Especially the part when the priests, ghost priests call him. Like, what?
I know. I mean, full credit to, off the top of my head, I think it's Zelenst or something like that. Alan Zelenst was a writer. Full credit for something different, and he did implement, the use of the moon as affecting Moon Knight's strength and all that. Full credit for all that, and he had all the Egyptian kind of weaponry for Moon Knight, so very different, but yeah, I don't know, maybe it was because it was just very dated. I'll have to read it again, but but anyway, so well into Moon Knight now. What did you think of, I'm going to tread carefully here as well, what did you think of the Bemis run? Did you enjoy that? Or no, actually I saw your comment on the thread.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
It was really, really enjoyable.
Yeah.
To be honest, if you are not taking the character so seriously, it's really fun. It was wild.
Yeah, it was.
It was a wild run. But looking at the bigger picture, the later parts really fell out for me.
And I can't deny as well. It's true. I mean, like, issues 199 and 200 were hard reads. They were very difficult, I found, to read. I love to read them again just to see how they turn up, but I found them very hard reads. And Max himself had said he deliberately made them difficult reads to challenge the reader. So, so it's not everyone's cup of tea. But yeah, okay, so that was good. Jason Burrows' art I thought was brilliant in it, and Paul Davidson's.
Sure.
Yeah, the art was. What would you say, MK? Are you an art man, or are you a writer man? Like,
Good question.
Yeah. What kind of attracts you more?
Let's see. I really think that if I see a run that has not so pleasing art to the eyes, but has good writing, I'd probably probably save for the writing.
Mm-hmm.
But if otherwise,
Or the other way round.
I would probably not stick for long. I think.
That's a good way of putting it. Actually, I probably tend to agree. I think writing will carry a book, even if the art is bad. Like if the writing's good, I think that will carry the book. But if you have fantastic art, but if the story is shit, then I tend to agree. Yeah, I think it would be very hard to say, okay, I'm going to get issue 2 for this, because I mean I don't know as well how much are comics over in the Philippines? Like, are they expensive or?
Oh, let's see. Yeah, kind of expensive. Maybe. Let's see. Maybe my fullest is 1/7 of my salary. My whole fullest,
right.
I think.
Wow, but how many titles have you got, MK? Come on, you know.
Oh,
are you? Sorry.
My current fullest is Life and Death of Toya Harada.
Yeah.
The Exo-Man War that's stopping at 26.
Yep.
Life Story, Spider-Man Life Story. Daredevil.
Yeah.
And Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ooh, hey, you threw that one in there.
Yeah, another shout out for that. It's really good.
You like your cosmic stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I loved Annihilation and Annihilation Conquest.
Ooh. I'm going to have to pick your brain.
DNA.
Sorry?
DNA is really good. I wish they wrote more comic stuff.
Oh, yeah. Are they together? I've heard that they kind of had a... Well, I've read somewhere that they didn't say the best things about each other. So, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. They had Fallout, I think.
Yeah. But they are great. They're a great team. Okay, far out. So that is expensive, because it is expensive over here as well. Like, it's about $8 Australian bucks for one comic, like $8. And to put that into context, if you're working in the city, in the big smoke, I'm gonna liken it to like you're buying a lunches. A lunch will cost you like $10-11. So a comic is $8. That's pretty expensive. Like
yeah.
So yeah, it's totally forgotten why we're talking about finances, MK. But that's okay. Yeah. So anyway, Anyway, so I guess the other question that we do ask, and we did speak about this kind of a bit off air before we come on the show. I know, MK, that you do frequent some of the comic book conventions over in the Philippines.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I myself, personally, I haven't been to many in Australia because apparently they're not that good. Over here. Tell us about the conventions in the Philippines and the ones that you've been to. Have you been enjoying them? Who did you see? What did you get? How was it?
Oh, conventions are really fun in here in the Philippines. Most of all, there are local comic book stores that sell back issues for either really cheap or really expensive for what they're worth.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some early Moon Knight stuff that went for, let's see, 3,000 pesos is like 60 bucks, I think.
My
US
God,
dollars?
really?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, man.
It's really, really expensive, and but I frequent the $1 $1 back issues.
Of course.
I've even got a Scarlet Redemption Part 1. Really happy I got that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great run.
But most Moon Knight back issues that I see are Mark Spector Moon Knight here.
Did you see any of the later ones, like from 50 onwards, the Stephen Platt one? Because they're kind of really hard to find.
What kind of arcs did that cover? I may have.
I think the oh God, what was he called? I think it was around Infinity Crusade onwards.
Oh,
yeah.
Is Secret Empire before or after that?
Oh no, Secret Empire is way after that. Yeah. No. So sorry, Mark Spector finished. Back in the 90s. I think it finished with issue 60 or so. But apparently a lot of the art was done by Stephen Platt, who looked very much like Todd McFarlane kind of art. And anyway, a lot of his issues were worth a pretty penny because.
Oh.
Yeah. So it would have been good if you found them in the dollar bins, I tell you.
Yeah, I'll check those out if there's another convention.
Yeah, but so how long do you take us through like a day in the convention? Is that a whole day thing? Do you go in multiple days or?
Usually, for the actual, there's let's see, there's two types of conventions that happen by separate organizations.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is the main one, the Comic-Con, spelled Komikon. Mm-hmm. It's usually 2 days, but last Summer Comic-Con was just 1 day. I didn't attend because my budget was so freaking low.
Yeah.
That time. But yeah, usually it's a really big convention. It takes to one big convention hall, I think. It's really fun. Oh, sorry. It's really fun there.
Yeah.
Because besides comics, there are artists doing commissions, stickers, and sometimes paraphernalia, stuff like mugs, keychains, t-shirts, and sometimes there are also guys who sell notebooks and games, tabletop, or card games, yeah. And the second one is the smaller organization, which is Comic-Con. Most frequent sitters there are the indie ones, and both orgs organize awarding and stuff. And yeah, the content the exhibitors sell there are really, really interesting. Actually, it's really a shame when you're in the event and your budget is and you see something you like. And, man.
I think with those. I mean, I've only been to one in my life, but you really have to make sure your wallet is fat and full, to enjoy. Because I mean, that's it, isn't it? It's all about buying stuff that you may not necessarily see from your local store. So so I can imagine, but it'd still be a fun thing to go through. Are there many cosplayers there, do you see, or?
Most cosplayers are going to cosplay events, and I don't really frequent cosplay events here.
Oh,
for
okay.
now. But
So they keep.
sometimes they're
So sorry, they keep them separate, do they? So cosplayers don't really go to the conventions at all. It's like a separate thing.
sometimes they go.
Okay.
Maybe more frequent when Free Comic Book Day arrives.
Right.
Last 2 years, I've seen cosplayers waiting in the line.
Okay.
Yeah, Free Comic Book Day is kind of big in one store in here.
Yeah.
They give out like free books.
Yeah.
Free
I love Free Comic Book Day. It's a great celebration, and you know it's good because we spoke to Nicola Scott last year, I think it was. She was at our local comic book store, and she was saying it's a great event. It is important because it brings out like creators like herself, come and talk and meet fans, but also it happens at the same time all over the world. So it's really this really is a celebration for all comic book fans, and I absolutely love Free Comic Book Day as well, because not only do you get free comics and all that. Generally the stores put on a sale, but it's just alive with activity, and it's really fun.
Truly.
Yeah. So yeah, cool. And people signing stuff you mentioned, and special guests. Have you seen anyone like really famous in the conventions that you went to?
Oh, the conventions I go to are mostly local creators.
Okay.
And there are really ones. Let's see. The most let's say I don't know how to phrase this. The most what you call it? Oh man. There is this one comic creator that has been an inker for Marvel for so long. His name is Jerry Alangian, and he has inked Avengers and Star Wars, I think. But we do have artists like
They're plenty. It's amazing how many Filipino artists are out there.
Yeah,
and they're all good. Like, you know. Sorry, I just cut you off there, MK. So you were saying?
No, that's great. I think one time there was Lionel Yu.
Yes, he's Filipino. Not many people probably know that. Lionel Yu.
Yep. Miko Sawayan, I've seen.
Miko Sawayan is one of my favourite artists.
Yeah,
he did a bit of Moon Knight as well.
When was that?
Yeah, he did it. He did in the Houston run.
Oh.
Yeah. He did it. There's a little. It was the arc after the bottom, after Houston and Finch. He did the one Midnight Sun, I think it is. It's a return of Midnight. Jeff Wild. That's Miko. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. Mate, Philo's, mate. Top talent.
Yeah. I don't know if there are other ones.
Will Spataccio?
Three are.
Sorry. Will Spataccio was a big one in the 90s when I was growing up. So he was a big star in Marvel. He did X Factor, Uncanny X-Men.
Whoa.
I think he did the first appearance of Bishop in the Uncanny X-Men. He also went on to Image. He migrated to Image with Jim Lee, Tom McFarlane, Eric Larson, Rob Liefeld, and he had an awesome title. I know Rick Ball special will love this. He had Wetworks. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. MK Wetworks.
No, sadly.
Oh man,
forgive this ignorant.
No, not at all. Can I ask you a bit of a pop quiz? Have you ever watched, or have you ever loved The Predator? Like Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, Aliens. Have you watched Predator? Tell me you've watched Predator.
Oh yeah, I've watched the first movie completely, but I haven't. I don't really remember the second one?
Oh no,
Don't
worry about the second one. No, it's just the first one you got to know, because in Wetworks, which is Will Spatacchio's one, they were a group of soldiers like the ones in Predator. Like, you know, they all have a character, but they had a symbiote, a gold, like this alien gold symbiote, and it covered all their bodies, it protected them. You know, it can become really hard if they were injured. It would kind of almost become like a cast over the injured part of the body. And yeah, they were basically a secret ops unit. But that was Will Spatacchio, one of the first Filipino artists I know that made his way into Marvel. But there are so many now.
Yeah, I think I just don't know the others, but yeah I think there's really many.
Yeah, I mean, well, Miko and Lionel are the two big ones at the moment. But yeah, I mean, there are a few others in Valiant as well, I think. But yeah. So sorry, I went off a massive tangent. So signings over at conventions, you said a lot of them were local talent, right?
Oh yeah, they're really, really friendly, and they really immerse in the community, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. Well, we'll definitely get into, let's say a couple of these coming up. Look, why not? Let's not beat around the bush anymore. I think first we'll go to a break. Let's just kind of get ourselves settled and recharged. And when we come back, Loonies, we'll get into MK's top 4 books, Desert Island books for the ISLA RA. So we'll be right back. Hang tight.
Hi, this is Chris.
And this is Brian.
And we are the hosts of Inner Demons, the Ghost Rider podcast.
And you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and other podcast apps for all your Ghost Rider needs.
Right on.
Yes, welcome back, Loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. I am with Midkine Hitsuzen, or MK. Sorry, Hitsuzen, is that right? Hitsuzen. And, or MK for short. And we are going through MK's ISLA RA books. Now, as you can hear, we are out in the Wild Wild West. And for those of you that have followed our ISLA RAs before, you'd know that in the show notes there are 4 encrypted links to MK's books, and this is the first one off the ranks. It is X Factor, and it is number 214. So MK, first off the bat, why have you chosen it? Look, I love X Factor as well, and Peter David, but why did you choose this as one of your top books?
Actually, this issue was one of the first comics I bought physically, after the one that I talked about, the Superman one. And it was and this was way after that, about 10 plus years, I think.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
It kind of broke the drought.
Yeah. I think this was one of the reasons that one of the issues that made me spark the interest in me about collecting and reading comics again.
That's really cool. I mean, and you couldn't have picked a better writer. Look, I am totally biased in Peter David and in the X Factor run. Now, for readers and loonies that don't know too much about it, we're obviously in the Wild West because it is based. This episode, this issue at least in the Wild West, and it's an interesting, I guess, protagonist for this issue. MK, can you maybe tell a little bit about it to our Loony listeners?
Oh, okay. So at the start of the issue, we see Darwin. He's a member of the X Factor. If you guys don't know him that well, Darwin is a mutant that has the ability to just adapt to anything, but he can't control the adaptation. His body just manifests.
Yeah, he's a really cool mutant, actually, and I really like how he's used in this issue. So there've been instances prior to this, I believe, or it might be even after it, where Darwin, say, come up against the Incredible Hulk, and he could actually, sustain punches from the Hulk by... What happened? Are you familiar with that as well, MK? About Darwin and the Hulk? And something really weird. His body adapted, but really weird. I think it teleported him somewhere else instead. Like,
I think
as you say, he has... Yeah, it's like he's got no control over it, but his body just does stuff to obviously help him. And I think with the Hulk, the body must have just thought, yep, the best thing for him is to get away. So, really, really interesting power. And he was featured shortly in, I believe it was X-Men First Class.
Yes, he was in First Class. Shame about what happened to that character, though.
Yeah, really underutilized, I think, and the potential, wasn't there. But obviously, he's not like a top tier character. But yeah, anyway, so sorry. So as we go through this story, MK, we see Darwin obviously in the Wild West, and he finds himself in a bit of a predicament, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's just really weird. He was just contemplating in the desert, and there just appears a lady asking for help. Behind her is some sort of a dragon cat hybrid. I don't know how to describe this one.
Oh, very strange. It's a very strange thing. It's just I just took it as like some sort of demon dragon.
Although later in the issue, its name is given.
Oh, yeah, okay, yes.
Yeah. Well, Darwin has no choice but to fight the creature. And what's really... And here we see a manifestation of his ability. Darwin describes that the scales of this creature burn too hot to the touch, but
yes,
his skin automatically thickens to provide them protection.
Yes.
But then it goes to what you call that? They rumble and tussle here and there, and I think he breathed fire somewhere.
No.
He didn't breathe fire. His mouth just seems like it's able to breathe fire.
It's glowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's glowing. He's got like a golden tongue, or something like that. But but Darwin kind of dispenses with him in a quite a graphic way. He breaks his jaw and just incapacitates him. So we get a good
glimpse about his power.
Yes, we do, and good to see him in action. And this is a really good tale, although it isn't per se about X Factor, the team. You get a good sense of Darwin himself. And just wondering, MK as well, so this obviously kind of furthered your interest in X Factor as well.
Yes. This was the gateway. Actually, when I bought this one, I bought it with 213. So 213 was quite of a prologue to this issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because several issues before, the team, the X Factor, had an encounter with Hela, the Norse goddess of death, and Madrox just went with the plan of making Hela face with Darwin, and Madrox was counting on Darwin's ability to adapt to work against Hela, and that really was a surprise. And as a consequence of that encounter, it left Darwin somehow changed mentally and mystically, I think, because he senses things related to death right now. Starting in the previous issue.
Okay. And did you get that? So you got that issue the same time as you got 214, right?
Yeah.
So these two issues were the gateway for you to X Factor.
Yeah.
And so it was okay. And so was Darwin. So I'm wondering, like, was it the writing or was it the characters that really interested you in X Factor? Like you mentioned, 213 had Multiple Man, one of my favorites. Did you find him interesting or Darwin interesting? That that kind of caused you to dive into X Factor more.
Let's say I found the dynamic of the team really interesting, the characters and how they interacted. As I always say, I describe this run of X Factor as the dysfunctional functional team, with Madrox in this run was very, very was very indecisive at points. That the drama was because of his indecisiveness about things and such. And you got really pretty strong personalities with Moony. Is it?
Yes.
Moony, yeah. Moony, Siren, and
I love Siren as well. Yeah, she's good.
The others just joining in later on. Well, actually, Darwin just joined later on the run.
He did, yeah. He came a bit later. God, let me see if I can try to remember this off the top of my head. There was it around the Secret Invasion?
Oh yeah.
Era that So there was that arc with him and his dad, right? I think there was this. You kind of got a little origin. Yeah, I mean that's when I first came across Darwin. Very interesting character, and actually. I wouldn't put him. It's funny because I'm more the classic back in the 90s and stuff. I wouldn't put him as one of the team members, but he's certainly very interesting, and I would love to see more of him. I mean, as we go just further through this story as well, again we see more of his adapting to situations. And Peter David does this really well. I think he really does give a good highlight. So we have Darwin shot basically through the stomach.
It's a
by one of these
fun panels.
Yeah, but you know he's going to be okay, and he gets up, and he's kind of already healing. But then the guy just shoots him in the head and just blows his head off. And this shows the power of Darwin. He's still alive, and I found it hilarious. His head is forming from his body,
from the stomach.
And it kind of just like from the stomach, and it kind of moves upwards into his. It's a really weird thing, but he's quite a powerful mutant if you come to think about it. He's I can't remember. Do you know what happened to him? Like, do you know what's happened to him currently?
I'm not that updated about the former members of X Factor for now. I'm actually curious about where he's up to, what he's up to right now.
Yeah.
Where is he?
Yeah, me
but
too.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. He's certainly very. I mean, he was created. I'm assuming he wasn't. He's not like he wasn't created long ago. I think he's a relatively recent creation. Dare I say, maybe somewhere between the end of the 90s to 2000s. I think he was probably created. But yeah, I mean, considering now that we've seen in Matt Rosenberg's New Mutants and Uncanny X-Men the likes of Strong Guy and Madrox, and in the New Mutants there was Rain, Wolfsbane was there as well with Richter. There was a lot of love for X-Factor there, but it'd be interesting to see what happens or what has happened to Darwin since then. But yeah, anyway, so just to tie up, so this is one of your, this is in your top 4, but so we'll go through this kind of quickly. So this ends up being kind of like a dream for Darwin, I believe. Can you remember what happens afterwards beyond 214, MK?
Actually,
is this something?
This issue was kind of a prologue to what would happen after. But I've forgotten already how many issues after this. Wait. Because I know this is connected to Rain's pregnancy.
Okay.
During this run, because yeah, that was a really interesting arc, I think, because Rain got you got Richter and Rain with a past relationship, and then Rain just pops out all of a sudden after her involvement with the X-Force, and she says she's pregnant, and maybe Rector's the father. They find out in that encounter with Gila that Rain was actually pregnant with the Wolf Norse god. I think I've forgotten the name.
Oh wow, I've forgotten all about that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I just remember Siren being pregnant and
that
was her baby.
That was trippy, man.
That was very trippy and very terrible.
Really,
can you imagine?
It's saddening.
Yeah, and can you imagine the trauma for both of them? What happened there with their child? And for loonies that don't know, basically Siren gives birth, and Jamie has a look and to welcome his new baby, and he absorbs it, and it's gone. So very terrible stuff there. But yeah, I'm familiar with Rain's pregnancy, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. I mean, like, is there anything further for 214 you'd like to add as to what made it really special? The art is really good. Peter David's writing, I always think, is really good. Anything else that you?
I think the thing that I like about this issue too was the mystery that shrouded it, because it was really a setup for the future arc of Rain and her baby, and actually the guy that shot Darwin was hinted to be Rain's kid.
Oh, that's right. Yes. That's right. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So that actually does make a lot of sense now, tying it in to Rain's thing. Because I remember reading that as well. There is that connection there. So interesting stuff. I love the Wild Westerns. Do you like westerns as well, MK?
Oh, I can't say I don't like them, but let's say I haven't had enough exposure to really like them a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, they're just fun, and there's these showdowns, and it had a really good feel, I think, this issue for that. And and it's always novel to kind of bring it in to comics and use it on mutants or whoever, or Avengers, or it's really cool. So that was one of your top 4 books, MK. I'd like to now turn to another one as we move up your ladder of books. Now we're starting to get into rather, I don't know how you would say, kind of harder to access territory. So this next book is, and correct me please if my pronunciation's incorrect, Sagala?
Yes, that you're pronouncing it right.
Excellent. So this is Sagala, and this is a Filipino comic. Is that right? It's very much in the style of like anime, right? But it's Filipino based.
Yes.
Yeah. And so why? I mean, this was a good read. I had a good read of this, and thank you so much for supplying a copy to read.
You're welcome.
And although it might be a little difficult for some loonies to sample themselves, I mean, of course, there are some loonies in the Philippines. I'm sure we'll be able to grab a copy of this. But first of all, why did you choose this one as your top 4?
Actually, when I first saw this book when I was on a convention, I was drawn to it with the premise because it was a historical fiction, and I didn't see historical fiction that much often. Besides, most of our fiction draws its source from the mythological creatures that are really abundant in stories in here. And I will tell much more in detail in 14 later on. And
hang on, wait. Yes, definitely. Anyway, hopefully no one noticed that one. That was your top one, which we'll get to, of course. But yes. That would be very interesting to get. I'd really love to pick your brain about that one. But So this is. I didn't know this was based on historical. I thought it was a rather rich story. But I can see it being tied with history.
Yes, actually, it is a fictional take on our history. Philippines used to be a Spanish colony back then. And the parallel to this story is really kind of obvious if you are aware of Philippine history, of our country's history. And basically the premise of this book is, as said in the back cover, Bullets, Betrayals, and Bells of the Ball. We have our protagonists in here, the siblings. The girl Riel is assistant of the gunsmith. That's why she knows how to handle guns, even if she's a girl. And her brother Constantino is guard. Let's say it's described as Sargento of the Guardia Civil, but he ends up as a personal guard for an ambassador for the Spanish equivalent of the story, which is the Hiraya. The ambassador, Constantino, is assigned to guard is named Corrido, and he's actually a special son of the king. I think I forgot, and he's different because he's from an elf-like race called Kinari, in this story.
Mm-hmm.
And another important character in this book is Awit, a Cartesian, close to Corrido, and let's just say she has something up in her sleeve that we don't know just fully just yet.
Yeah, she seemed quite, I don't want to say shady, but she seemed, that she was up to something, definitely. That's what I took from reading this.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Sorry?
Yeah, you first.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just about to say, very, I found this very interesting. It's funny, I didn't know it was historically tied. I thought it was a really good... They set the world really well, like in the introduction, and as you mentioned, so to me, I was just reading as fiction, right? Like, so they set this society up, which was really good, and the thing I was really impressed with reading this was, I guess, the drama between the characters. I mean, you get the four main characters, which are featured, in profile as you kind of gone through them, and they all have their little quirks and I guess faults, you say, but they also have, like with Corrido and Awit, there's some scheming or something happening. So it made for a really good drama thing, like very different from the X Factor issue, I thought. MK. So you've gotten a very varied, 2 books so far with it. So apart from the historical stuff, what else drew you in when you saw this at the convention?
It's besides for the historical stuff, I think the fictional aspect is utilized very well, because besides of the parts of the history that has been taken as part of the reference, the fictional parts are really, really good, especially in chapter 3. This is because this is chapter 2. In chapter 3, we see more detail on the elf-like attributes of Corrido, and we see something really, really, let's say, it's really nice to look at, but it's a sad part of Corrido as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you look at the characters, and you kind of feel sorry for them as well. Like even young Riel,
yes.
Riel, yeah. I mean, even there's that kind of social thing where she goes to the ball and she meets other people there, but it's not long before she notices that they kind of discriminate her because of her class, her background. And then there's also her brother, right?
Yes.
And you kind of get the sense growing up that he, I don't know, how would you describe it? He kind of fails. I mean, like he's scared, or he lacks a bit of courage or something. I don't know how to describe it.
Let's say he was, from what I understand from the story, let's say he was thrust into a role so abruptly that he hadn't had the time to enjoy his childhood very well, because they were orphaned, abandoned as kids, especially Riel's. Riel was very young when they were abandoned, so Constantino had to pick up the slack, and protect her sister at all costs.
Yes. Yeah, true. Yeah, no, there was a thing I was alluding to. I guess when he was young, he'd almost be seen like as a cry baby as well. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he had it hard. He had to obviously bring up, support his younger sister, baby sister, back at that stage. So yeah, it's a really interesting kind of insight into these main characters. The art I thought was really good as well. It kind of goes between really sketchy art, like just almost like outlines, and then more fully formed art, which I think it looks really good. Like it kind of evokes, I don't know, it evokes a bit of style by having it almost like with the sketchy art being like memories or it's I don't know. Yeah, did you like the art?
Yeah, one of the reasons that I also picked up this book was because I like the let's say the combination of the sketchy and the more fully formed art. It's pleasing to look at least in my opinion.
It's a really good effect. I think who's the artist here? Let me see.
It's Tori Tadiar.
Okay. Oh, Tori. Yeah. On the front cover there. Really nice. I really do like it, and even with the layouts with the text, you even get it. One of the first pages here as well, where the art, it's almost just like freestyle. Like, you know, there aren't any panels, and it's just one big page, and there's like a montage of just outlined drawings, and the text is kind of not inhibited in any boxes. It's just kind of like there, and it gives it more of a, I don't know, it's you dispense with the word balloons and stuff, and I don't know, it gives a really nice effect to it.
Yeah, the speech bubbles were really put really well, and it's like it's naturally. Let's say it's not obstructing to the art.
No,
that's why it's pleasing to look at, even with the text.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, so I guess the most of it. How would you summarize this chapter 2? I mean, for me, having read it's kind of like, you know, there was just a lot of drama between the characters. I could, yeah.
Actually, I picked. Oh,
sorry.
I picked this book because of the first page. We have let's say world building dump of text. And it's for me, it's really good to explore that part, because in chapter 1 it's just let's say an introduction of the characters. But for me, chapter 2 is where the story starts really rolling, because we see a glimpse of Constantino and Real's past that somehow has they have something that's integral to the part to the story, because they're hinted to be nobles of some sort before they were abandoned. And you've got Corrido and Awit, who have their schemes each to their own.
So what's happening? Yeah, so what's happening with them further on down there? Like, how many chapters are there, and what are they heading towards?
As of now, their last time I saw the story in the convention, there were just 3 chapters for now, but
okay.
Chapter 3, as I've said earlier, explores Corrido and his mission.
Yes.
His mission, let's say, he's looking for something hidden in the continent, and actually it involves some mystical parts to it, the fictional part to it, because in that in that chapter he encounters what you call that, Lamia,
right?
Snake lady, to be something like that. He encounters such a creature in that episode, in that chapter, and it tells us that his mission is much more. There's something more at stake, and that's for Corrido and Awit. As for Awit, her schemes are more on guarding what Corrido is scheming, and I really think she has some sort of connection to Constantino's family as well, because there's this one panel that has her saying the son tastes just like his father, only sweeter. Like,
I was
really surprised.
So she has come across him before. It's funny though, because she's drawn quite. She looks quite young.
She's really drawn quite.
I mean, not young, but like she doesn't. Yeah, she still looks, in her prime.
Kind of ageless, no.
Oh, because I was also wondering about Corrido, and so like getting into more of those, as you said, the mystical aspects, because he's an elf, right? And I wondered if the other chapters kind of fleshed that out a bit more. And Arwit, is she a human? She's a human, right?
She's a human, but more of a let's say I think she's more of a spy that's posing as a Cartesian. Because this story, this chapter really hints that she had something to do with Constantino and Real's father. That he had something that she wanted, or her superiors wanted.
Yeah.
That's why she took him off. But
the mystery and the intrigue.
It's all speculation for now, but it's really exciting.
And so is this kind of current? Like you mentioned, they're up to chapter 3. Is chapter 3, was that released not long ago?
Let's say last year, I think.
Okay, no, that's very, very recent. Okay, nice. And how regular were these chapters coming out?
I actually buy them whenever I see them at conventions. So whenever and they schedule, and the artists usually schedule it around convention time. So whenever they confirm that a new chapter is finished, they usually announce that they will sell the new chapter during a convention, or whenever if they have a platform online.
So that was my next question as well. Just before we move on, or we'll have a quick break before we get to your top 2. But is there any way that Loonies can order this online?
Actually, there is, but I think you have to buy it from Gumroad.
Gumroad. Okay.
Yes. I think it's Gumroad.
Okay, no worries. Well, we'll be sure to Loonies put a link in order to, in case you are interested in Segala. It is a very cool read. If you do love, I guess, dynamics between characters and drama and intrigue, this is very much for you. It's not, as I said before, it's very different from the action-packed heads being blown off giant dragons of X Factor 214. So MK is given a nice variety here for his ISLA RA books. Look, before we go to a quick break, MK, is there anything you want to add to Segala that you liked about it, that made it you choose it in your ISLA RA books?
I think we got it all covered.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no worries. Well, anyway, Loonies, definitely check it out, and as mentioned, we'll chuck it in the show notes there for you to see if you can purchase yourself. Anyway, we'll take a quick break before we quickly change locations again, and we'll be back with MK's top 2 ISLA RA books. See you soon.
Hello, I'm Anthony.
And I'm Dr. Issues.
And we're hosts of Capes on the Couch, the podcast where comics get counseling.
Superheroes don't always get to go home happy. That's where we come in.
We offer psychiatric and mental health analysis of comic book characters.
So check us out at capesonthecouch.live and across all social media platforms at Capes on the Couch.
Yes, welcome back, Loony listeners. You are listening to episode 99 of Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. This is our ISLA RA sessions, and you are with your host, High Priest of Khonshu, Ray, and very special guest, Loony MK. How are you, sir? Good? How are you holding up?
Yeah, I'm really good. It's really great to be here.
That's good. As you noticed, our surroundings are slightly different. I'm going to probably need, as we get to it, need you to probably explain a lot here. We are in the deep depths of, I don't know if you'd call it hell or not. I mean, we were in hell one ISLA RA sessions with another Loony. We're in this odd place now, which will be your number 1 book. So as you can hear, Loonies, there are some weird things happening in and around us. But before we get into that, we've got to cover your second top book. And I'm very proud and happy to mention to you, Loonies, that MK has chosen issue 194 of Moon Knight. Yes, that's right. Moony is got a mention in this ISLA RA, and this is off the Max Bemis run, and it was a one-off. And for the 2% of Loonies that perhaps don't know about this issue, MK, can you give us a rundown? Why did you choose this issue? And or actually, first off, what is it about in summary?
Issue 194 of Moon Knight has Mark describing to Frenchie maybe the first instances that caused the downward spiral of his mental illness or his disorder, and it takes back to when Mark was still young and still, let's say, proudly Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells of the story of his dad and this one guy in the Jewish community.
Mm-hmm.
His name was Rabbi Yitz Perlman, and he came off to Mark as a really funny guy. He describes him as the friend their grandfather came with to America long ago, after or during the war.
Mm-hmm.
And he became kind of Mark's favorite person in the Jewish community, that he spends his time there more than with his father. And one day when Mark decides to come early at Rabbi Yitz's place, and he discovers a trapdoor which led him to a much more darker discovery that Rabbi Yitz wasn't the man that he thought he knew.
No, definitely not. Oh. Yeah, this is a very very dark, and we have covered this in our show before, and there are a lot of loonies that this has made quite a big impact on. And yeah, anyway, so Yitz turns out to be Ernst, who we know from the later run is something of a antagonist to Mark. But this issue throws up plenty of interesting facts about Mark Spector, MK, and the Max Bemis really does start exploring a bit more of it. The one thing for me, apart from Ernst, who is quite a formidable foe, is the revelation of Mark's dad. And although this may be kind of twisting the canon or not, I'm not sure, but about his dad having his own mental problems, which could very much be, an explanation of where Mark kind of gets his as well.
Yeah, I really like this issue that they Bemis explored a bit where the lore hadn't really explored before in Marx's past, which that his dad and his involvement in the Jewish community once, and Ernst was a really, really good addition to the lore for me.
Very dark, and what we see here is that he basically, I guess, to stay young or to stay alive, he kills people. So it really takes a dark turn, especially in that cellar. A little bit graphic as well. He's really sadistic. So why did you? I mean, what drew you into this? Was it that very fact about the exploration of lore, or was it I don't know, was it just a memorable issue for you? Because it certainly is a memorable issue for people.
Besides the lore that was explored a bit more, expanded a bit more, I really like how this issue, let's say, expanded on the trauma. Kind of explained a bit about the trauma this issue, this event had on Mark that contributed to what he became later on. And I think this was really one of the factors that started the issues Mark had with his mental stability. You see, he kind of becomes a sadist, I think.
There's a bit of that. He does tap into his violent side, which has always been alluded to in his previous canon about him. Obviously, eventually going into the military and in boxing and stuff like that, because he's actually good at hurting people. And so this is a nice tie-in to that.
Yeah, I think that is this issue did a really good representation of Mark's kind of natural attunement for aggression, I think.
Yeah, even at a young age, you see him. He has a go at Ernst, and there's some shots there where he almost looks like he enjoys it, but afterwards he's surprised at all the blood on his hands, and yeah, almost as if surprised at how well or how much he's achieved. A very strong issue. I'm glad you chose a Moon Knight issue as well. Okay, it's we are a Moon Knight podcast. It is great. I'm not to say that you have to, but it was a good issue too. Have you read all the other most of the other runs, or have you tried the other older runs?
I haven't had my hands on the really old runs yet, and I think when I have the budget, I'll go for a run. I'll go for finding the trades when I see them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because the comic shops here are really kind of limited, so I have to.
No worries. Totally understandable. Look, I want to leave a bit of space now, obviously, to talk about your main book. So let's head straight into it. I know that you've got a lot to talk about here.
Oh, definitely.
So, as MK alluded to a little earlier, his number one ISLA RA book is another Filipino comic. It's called 14, as you mentioned, and the creator. It's in running writing on the front in cursive, so I'm not sure if I read it properly. Is it Manix Abrera?
You're correct.
Excellent. So, I assume, does he do the story and the art as well? Or?
Yes, he does the story and the art.
Excellent. And this was and of course I see that he got a signed copy there. And 2017's
He's a really great guy, really humble.
No, it was a really good read. It's again a very different. So fantastic. These 4 books, MK. You've picked four diverse books, and this one, I was, funnily enough, it reminded me of the interview we had with Jason Burrows, where we talked about the silent interlude, G.I. Joe. I was settling myself down, getting ready to go through and have a good read of what you sent me, 14, and it is a great read, but a lot of it is, well, dare I say, all of it is visual. So
yeah, it's a silent comic.
It's a silent comic, and it's a really good, a really good telling. This is a hard one to explain. There seems to be a lot of, how shall I say? There'll be a lot of symbolism in it, and there's a lot of surrealism in it as well. So I can probably leave it to you, MK, to describe what is happening in this comic.
Okay. Let's see. This 14 actually starts with a scene where the main protagonist actually used most of Mannix Comics characters are nameless except for a select few. So let's just say the main guy. We see him arrive at a building while it's raining, probably up to his apartment, and he takes an elevator up to it's kind of hard to see, but that's 14th floor, probably where he lives. And as he waits for the elevator to go up, the elevator stops at the 5th floor, and he's surprised to see no one entering. As he wipes his sweat from his brow, he suddenly not notices two small beings that we Filipinos call duende, or
Okay.
it's like the our counterpart for gnomes, but much
Gnomes,
smaller. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
and
So it immediately goes a bit crazy from here.
yeah. Yeah, and in the 6th floor, there's a mother and I don't know if it's a son or daughter, tandem of what we call manananggal.
Okay.
It's a creature that, for the most part, it looks human, but it can split its body and grow wings, and it just leaves the lower half as it flies for food, which is usually human entrails.
This is making it, like, funnily enough, Loonies, this is making a little bit more sense to me now, because I didn't realise they were mythological characters. This is awesome. This is great to learn about. Yeah. So yeah, I just thought she was a demon or a devil or something. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, the creatures in here are based on our mythological lore.
So cool.
Yeah, and the manananggal presses the 13th floor button, so you can see here the main guy is just wet, just pouring on his forehead. And
Yes.
on the 9th floor, there comes in what we call a capre. It's like our counterpart for giants, but much smaller.
Okay.
Capres are said to be found to be lurking and living inside tall dark trees, tall, the
Okay.
broad ones that you can't really see the things inside.
Yes.
Yes, and
Okay. Are they evil?
most for the most part they are neutral in alignment.
Okay.
But if they have something they like as a girl,
Yeah.
they get really aggressive, I think.
Okay.
And at the 11th floor, there comes in actually, this is one of the more common appearances of ghosts in our country.
Okay.
But that's why we call them white ladies, because they are just
Jesus, pretty scary.
yeah, dressed in white, and actually the veil is optional, but he just left it there.
I think the veil makes it, actually. For Loonies, so what MK is saying is that the Filipino ghosts, in general, are white ladies, and there's a visual here of just a person draped in white with a white veil that you can't see over. They're very spooky indeed, actually. And who's this little fella? He's on the 12th floor. He's little goggly eyes.
Actually, that's what we call tianak. It's a peculiar creature for me, because tianaks are produced when unborn babies are I don't know if it's stillborn or the aborted ones, but they describe it as the malice that's concentrated on the vessel of the baby. That's why.
That's freaky.
Yeah.
Jeez, okay. I mean, having said all that as well, the art is very different, because the art is not like your typical I don't know, superhero comic art. It's done in a in like a cartoon fashion. So I'm sure, like, you know, if this was drawn by, dare I say, I don't know, MK, David Finch, or you know, who else?
Smallwood.
and Smallwood. Yeah, even Smallwood would do it. A very, or actually Paul Davidson, who was on Moon Knight. He'd probably, or Jason Burrows. They'd draw very scary, horrific looking characters. These are, like, you know, quite scary, but the art is very stylized. Would you say, MK, as well? It is very kind of like our main protagonist is almost literally kind of like an outline, right, with two dots for eyes, and but very cool looking.
Yeah, it's actually, this is really Mannix's art style, but he can choose to be more specific, like give details for the clothes or for the looks, but for the most part he draws just like this.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
It's very, as I said, stylized, and it gives a particular style to the whole story. It's really. I can imagine it as a animation, actually, like as something to watch.
Actually, there have been attempts to. There has been a commercial involving Mannix that animated his characters.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good animation, but for the long run, I don't think he has plans for animating his comics yet.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, so what happens to our young protagonist here? He goes down the elevator.
Oh yeah, he's stuck at the elevator, but then all of those occupants besides him go off the 13th floor, and his curiosity got the better of him, and he walks off the elevator and discovers that the 13th floor is connected to somewhere. I don't know how to explain this mystical plane, or
which is where we are now, by incidentally.
And the mystical creatures have gathered. I don't know if there's a celebration or something, but they seem to have gathered on that place, and the protagonist just wanders, looks around, and finally observes the most of the creatures converging at one area, and there seems to be storytelling that's about to happen. There's a manananggal perched on a high rock with overlooking the creatures who are waiting to listen for the story, and we start with the first storytelling session, because 14 is actually a comic of is it 14 stories, but or 7?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Let's see, 1, 14, 3, 4. Wait a sec. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stories. All told by the representative of each of the mythological creatures. And the first story is from the Manananggal.
Yep.
And her story goes like this. there's a girl, a young girl that's being avoided by her peers, and a speech bubble shows us that they're uh, they're they think that the girl is a manananggal. Then the girl stares at the guys talking, and they are scared, and people are avoiding the girl every time at school, in the classroom, in recess, when going home. And we see a panel in here that shows us that it's true, the girl was a manananggal, but there's this expression in her face that she didn't tells me that she didn't want to be this way, I think.
Okay.
And we see her looking at the other kids playing, and she tries to join, but they are scared, and she's left with a ball. And we see a panel of her here in her split body mode, where she throws the ball at her lower half, who then kicks it. It's a really fun panel, actually.
It is very very strange.
Then we have a time lapse in here. The girl is all grown up now, and her place is now a city. And we see her here one night, just feeding with some
Entrails or
entrails.
intestines.
Actually, it's some manananggals prefer sucking babies out of pregnant moms. Yeah, it's really
Excellent. Alright. Luckily, we don't see any of that, but there's still enough gore here. She sees a person in a car wreck.
Yeah.
And I found this actually quite sad, because actually I didn't know about the mythical creatures here. I thought she was, I don't know, I thought she was some sort of angel before. And she picked up this guy who was dying, but he obviously only got half a body. So it was, I thought it was kind of like a, I don't know, out of body experience or something for him as he was about to die. And then you see, there's that panel, the 9 panels, where he's having a look, and he looks up at her, he smiles, but then he slowly and then closes his eyes and he dies. I think that's quite a
it's really sad.
Yeah, touching. Yeah, very touching. But then she kind of, I couldn't explain this afterwards, MK. What, she takes him in, and then she puts him on top of another lower half, but he's already dead.
Yeah, that's it's quite sad, really, because I think she thinks that if
is that her half? Yeah.
Yes, that's her half.
Okay.
If she puts the guy onto her lower half, he would live, and I think she what you call that? She accepts her reality to sacrifice herself for the guy to live.
So she gives away her lower half, basically, and stays forever as that kind of floating, was it manananggal?
Yes, and the last panels here, we see her flying away towards the sunrise, but manananggals have 2 weaknesses. It's sunlight when they're in their split form, and when you put salt on their lower half, they can't reattach to it, and they they have have to accept their fate to die.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Right,
it's really sad because we see her kind of sizzling towards the sunset.
Oh, so she sizzles. Okay, and I was just looking at the corpse, and he kind of just collapses. You know.
Yeah.
Because he's two halves, and he doesn't stick to her lower half, and it just looks like he starts to wobble.
And the lower half sizzles out as well.
Ah, okay, so the lower half sizzles away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay, and that explains it. That's why the top half wobbled. See, this is what I was talking about, Loonies. It's very surreal. But there are some really touching moments there. Like I thought that was really, when that guy was kind of closing his eyes and smiling because he realised he was being carried away by her. That was pretty touching. But yeah, very surreal stuff, and I mean, then we go back to wherever it is that we are in, and the sermon is still being told to, the goggly-eyed babies and the ghosts. And the
they're applauding the manananggal who told the story.
Yeah. So what the babies called? Were they a tianak? Did you say?
Yeah, this tianak.
Yeah, because I know anak means is that son or is it like just child?
Anak is child.
Child, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and so they're applauding, and then what happens? It turns back into the girl, the Manananggal.
Excuse me?
Oh, towards the end, so the Manananggal, they cheer, and then she disappears off the rock, but then appears the girl. Looks like again.
It's another storyteller.
Oh no! Oh, okay, another storyteller, and then we go off into
another story. Yes, this actually is what we call diwata. Let's say our counterpart for the Fae kind, the fairies.
Okay.
Yeah, our version.
So, with the next story, okay, so, sorry, maybe you can just, you were mentioning it's was it a Dala what? It's a fairy?
It's a Diwata.
Diwata, sorry.
Yes,
Diwata,
yes.
Okay, so it's kind of like a fairy. Alright, so she starts off the next tale here, MK. And this is a tale of love.
Yeah, it's a tale of love. Tale of love, but one that you did not expect to end, I think.
Yeah, and so I'm just wondering, so at this point, like, obviously the mythology I'm learning a lot about Filipino mythology, and I love that sort of stuff. What kind of drew you into 14, into this book? Was it because it was a nice collection of stories, or was it because Abreras was a really cool dude at the convention, or how did you come across it and become a favourite of yours?
Actually, I was previously I was really a fan of Mannix and his works. His main comics is called Kika Machine, and it's really, really fun stuff. He's got his own brand of humor that's sometimes forced, sometimes real, sometimes just hits you right in the heart, and you just laugh with it. And it's this is his second silent comic that's a graphic novel. And when this came out, I was really impulsive to buy this, and what I liked about it at first was because I hadn't much that exposure into silent comics, and this was one of my first reads about that style, and the stories are really, as you said, some are surreal, some are lighthearted, touching, and some are just you just you can do a bit of self introspection, or this comic leaves you thinking. That's why I kind of like to read it again and again sometimes, because each time you just ask yourself why the characters do these stuff, and I think what sometimes that makes a comic very enjoyable, because it makes you think.
Yes, no, for sure. And this second tale is quite a. Actually, it's quite a long one.
Yeah, it's one of the longer stories here.
Yeah, and it's about them. Well, how would you pitch this story? There's a nice courting at the beginning. The gentleman tries to. Sorry, I'll let you. How do we see this unfold?
First, we see the female protagonist being courted, but she's really unsure of the three guys that she's seeing. Then we are introduced to this neighbor of hers, just across her house, and we see that this guy is really broke to ask her out. So he does this. The only way he can confess his that he likes her or loves her is to write a composition, then sing it to her. But it ends up he ends up singing it so badly that the female really just laughs hysterically at the attempt. And
it's kind of it's endearing, isn't it? She kind of like falls for him because of it.
Yeah, funnily enough, they end up together with a family because of it. And we can see that he has three kids, right? Three kids now. Boy, a girl, and a baby, and we see them with their everyday lives, so their routine. But then the next panels show the Diwata staring from afar, and I'll just tell you, give you some reference about this, because Diwatas or Encantos in our mythology are prone to, let's say, if they encounter a human that they are really attracted to, they will do anything to invite you to their realm. And once you're in there, you have to be very wary about eating what they give you, because if you do eat or drink something that they gave you from that realm, it binds you to stay and never leave.
Oh,
that's why
it's making a lot more sense now, this story, to me.
They are actually pretty scary behind past all their beautiful faces and such. That's why be on guard if you encounter these beings.
Right. So they are evil.
Let's say lawful evil, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and we see the next panels. The Diwata is basically hounding the guy and just appearing everywhere.
Yes.
To his vision. And one day at work, the Diwata is surprisingly becomes his workmate.
Yes, they work opposite each other.
Yeah, and the wife of the male protagonist senses something is different with the guy because he isn't as sweet as he was before.
Yeah, there's a bit of distance between them.
And yeah, it's kind of sad actually.
It is, yeah. And she actually catches him having a good time with
the Diwata.
work colleague or the Diwata at work. And so she just goes home and again it's just very, very
awkward.
Distant. Yeah.
And finally one day the Diwata offers her hand to the male protagonist and takes him away to their realm. And the wife actually sees them leaving. And we see in the next panels of her just trying to continue without him, but you can see the stress. Yeah, it's really hard. But then she
gets angry.
She gets angry seeing her kids.
Yeah.
And they were left behind. So one night she takes them and they just go to the realm of the Diwata.
Very surreal thing. They plunge through the roots. They go for a swim in underwater caverns. They come up through forests. They encounter some beasts along the way. But then she finds her husband and the Diwata in a clearing,
enjoying their time.
Yeah.
And having other fellow Diwatas serving them.
Yeah. And
here we see the wife just bruised up, angry.
Yes.
Leaving the baby to the other kids, and she actually has brought the composition with her.
Yes, she does. Yeah, she sings it to him.
Yeah, she sings it beautifully. That the husband cried.
Yeah.
And after singing it, he just throws the composition to the guy.
Yeah. And then she leaves with the children, and he's kind of left. He's being restrained by the Diwata, holding him back literally while his family walk away.
That's the hard part, because once you bind yourself to the Diwatas, you can never leave.
You're stuck, yeah. And so they make their journey back up. The family go home, and there's a bit of lightheartedness at the end as well, because it seems like the wife has made peace with what's happened. And this could be like a metaphor as well, couldn't it, MK, of like, I guess, of relationships and couples and maybe families, maybe fathers and stuff running away and disappearing on the family. Anyway, so they make it home, and the baby says something musical, and they all kind of laugh, and they have a good time with it. Yeah. So, again, it kind of makes you think, doesn't it, about it as well. It's a tale that's told, and it kind of reflects, I guess, relationships, which is really, which is has got a really strong message, similar to like the first one as well. Which I mean, having that kind of emotional impact.
It also shows that you have to be really wary of the relationships that you go into, and just not do as what the husband did. To just disappear all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. To kind of treasure what you have. Because she reminds it. Yeah, so very again, very kind of powerful stuff from Annex. Really good. Right, so that was the second story of this massive collection, number 14, chosen by MK. Now we've got another story. We've got a few here, MK. So let's just pick a few that we want to talk about in depth. The next one, we can quickly go through this one. So this was the one on page. Let's go quickly through this one on page 71. Can you take us through this little story, this little tale?
Actually, the story in here is told by a doppelganger, and it starts off really. It starts off really mysteriously, because on the left panels you got a guy just lying in the bed, and the right pages are of panels of him traveling, and later on we can see that the guy who's lying in bed is holding on a picture of one of our beautiful tourist spots in the country, which is the Banana Rice Terraces, and we can see that he wants to go there and enjoy the view. And further along the pages, we can see that he is actually in a hospital. He's got IVs on. His family is in there. Some are crying. Maybe gives us a hint that his situation is terminal, I think. And on the right panels is of him traveling, and he actually gets to have a picture posing at the scenic view and the terraces, and we are surprised when we see the guy who took a picture in the terraces was actually giving it to him who is lying in bed, and he gives the picture to the guy lying in bed, because the picture that he's holding is just a postcard of the Panay Rice Terraces, and the picture that the later on realized a doppelganger is a picture of the rice of him posing with a smile on the Panay Rice Terraces, which is actually really heartwarming. And we see on the last page the panels, the doppelganger doing his stuff, and it's
like almost like is he a shapeshifter or something?
It's technically it's a shapeshifter, doppelganger, which is called in our terms hunyango, and it's one of the lesser famous mythological beings in our culture.
Okay, and what's the so what is he? Is he good, or what's the purpose of the doppelganger in this mythology? Like he kind of helps out his doppelganger in bed, doesn't he? So he seems to be quite an encouraging, if anything, encouraging person, or a giver of maybe dreams. I don't know. How would you?
the doppelganger in this story is kind of like a dream giver, but the doppelgangers mostly in our culture is, I don't know, just neutral. I think really mysterious. You don't really know what their motives are, except for some stories. But yeah, they're mostly neutral.
Because I don't know if some loonies will remember, we did review the some of the Mark Spector Moon Knight issues which occurred during the Infinity War, and of course the doppelgangers there were very much evil. They were kind of almost like the evil opposite to our heroes. So yeah, interesting to see how doppelgangers are kind of used in different cultures here, MK. And also as well, we have to point out that these beautiful, was it rice fields?
Rice terraces.
Rice terraces. Yep. I'm assuming these are the same ones because I know some of the Infinity War movie was filmed in the Philippines.
Yeah,
the last part. At the end. Yeah, when you see Thanos on his farm, that's based on the Philippines, the rice terraces.
Yeah, that's what I read.
They're very beautiful. They are very beautiful, and they're literally just terraces carved out into the side of these mountains. And if anyone who's seen Infinity War, you'll know what we're talking about. Anyway, that's featured in this issue here. So yeah, really cool. Another window into the Filipino mythology there, MK. Now we move on to with that ending. We move on to another story, which we should really kind of get into. This is one that we spoke of earlier that would be good to really talk about. This one has kind of like a spirit with a horse head.
Yeah, it's joke. You can jokingly say that it's a reverse centaur.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, the head of a horse, the body of a man.
Yeah. But in our
is that what it's meant to be? Yeah, sorry.
In our country, it's called tikbalang.
Tikbalang. Okay.
And it's a really fascinating creature. It can run really fast, and there's this legend that if you beat a tikbalang in a race, you get to have a favor from it, and if you are cunning enough to pull the hairs on the back of his head, which are actually worms. Yeah, it's really it's a worm, and then you eat it. It's bound to you for life.
So what happens to you?
A servant.
Oh, okay.
You're the master of that tikbalang.
I've got to tell you, at this stage, we're going through all this Filipino mythology, MK. This is some really imaginative stuff. I mean that in an absolutely cool way. I never would have thought that there would be spirits that had worms as hairs and floated around eating entrails of other people with only half their bodies. But it's really fascinating stuff culture-wise. So it's really, I've got to say, I love how you picked this for your top book for Desert Island Books, and it's a real eye-opener for any, I guess, non-Filipinos and anyone who's interested in mythologies. This is just great. I mean, sorry?
No, you...
Oh, yeah.
I picked this book for that purpose because the mythology in our country is really very vast with these creatures, and I still haven't even touched about the gods yet. We have different pantheons due to differing regions in the country, and let's just say there are also world eaters in our lore. Mythological lore.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely am fascinated with mythology. I used to read a lot more of it. Now I just love it referenced in comics and some of those, loonies will know. Big fan of Hercules. I love the Norse mythology introduced through Thor in the Marvel Universe, as well as big fan of the Monkey King, Journey to the West, Chinese mythology. Filipino mythology was very fascinating, and I would love to learn more about the gods and the world eaters, the Galactuses of the Philippines, or the Celestials, really, aren't they? They'll be Celestials. So anyway, let's crack into this story with sorry, how do you pronounce again these reverse centaurs?
Tikbalang.
Tikbalang. And does that translate to anything in particular? No,
I don't really know. Yeah, it's just a name.
Okay. Well, you're a cultural historian now, MK. For the Philippines. So anyway, let's crack into this. So, you take us through this story. I guess these are all short stories, right? I mean, before we go any further, let's just say, how I mentioned for Desert Island Books, for ISLA RA Books, MK has done a very cool thing. This is technically a book. He's gone through a technical loophole here, and it's kind of like a collection, but it's like an anthology. So it is technically one big issue, but it's a lot of stories within. So let's get into this one. Take us through this.
The story that Balang tells us starts with a guy driving. It's a rainy night. Then he bumps into a alley that is blocked by people walking. Kind of like a march. They're marching, and he waits all night, and he wakes up. It's already sunrise, but there are still people marching, continuing to block the alleyway. So he tries to beat the horn, and he's met with angry glare by a random marcher, and he goes out of his car, joins the march. He is curious about why are these people marching. So he walks along them, and we see the city background change to forest of some sorts, and as he marches along, they go through different landscapes, nighttime, and his curiosity getting the better of him, he rushes along forward, and he sees people on the front carrying a coffin of some sorts. It's an open casket, and he tries to climb on a high ledge or something to view the coffin, and what he sees shocks him as the open casket has a dead tikbalang on it. It's like a funeral march for the tikbalang. Yeah, and then he tries to run away. He tries to go back. We see the different landscapes that they passed before. Then he sees crossroads. He tries going through them, and we see he finally rests for a breather, and then he sees the funeral march nearby and still walking, and he just flees again. He flees and he flees, but he's thinking of the family left behind, friends. And
why is he running? Why is he running away, MK? Is he scared of the Tikbalang, or is it a bad omen, or is it just something weird? Is that what, you know?
Yeah,
that
he's basically scared out of his wits, because any normal person doesn't really experience seeing mythological beings from time to time. So
it's like if we're walking down the street and we see someone in an open casket and it's like a goblin or a, you know, okay, so it's like something that's in our reality is not real.
Yep, he's just shocked and terrified out of his wits. So he tries to flee again and again. Then he still sees the march nearby, and the panels black out. We are in the city again. It's raining. Another car is driving through the rain. We see the driver in the car being blocked again in an alleyway by a march of people. And he tries to beat the horn, and we see the guy earlier glare at the driver now angrily.
Yeah.
And we just end it. Yeah, it's really surreal.
So there's a bit of a loop happening. So are we to believe then that the crowd that's moving, basically people who have seen this and gone around and done the journey and come back, and then we see some more people? Is that kind of the thing?
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. And there's this let's say counter that the elders tell us. If you ever get lost in such a situation like this, you are played upon by beings such as Encantos and Tikbalangs. They tell us that whenever we get lost, we just remove our shirt or whatever we wear on top and wear it. We turn it inside out and wear it.
Okay.
So that so that we don't get lost. It's
right.
Yeah, it's weird, really weird, but
it's I love these.
They say it's effective.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like a superstition, really. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, very, very strange tale, that one. It doesn't give too much away about what a Tikbalang is, and as you mentioned, a lot of interesting aspects with it serving you for life, right? If you pick one of the worm hairs from it and eat something in particular. So, no, very, very interesting stuff. We've got a few more here. The next one is more on the... again, I've forgotten the name, MK, you'll have to remind me. It's the ghost with the veil on the face, which is
a white lady.
Sorry?
It's a what we call a white lady.
A white lady. Oh, well, that's easiest to remember. Anyway, so there's a short tale here as well about a white lady talking to an old man, and she actually takes her veil off, and she goes through a whole gamut of emotions.
She's just reacting here and there to the old man.
Exactly. I'm not too sure about the message behind this one or the symbolism, MK. So basically, sorry, just for the Loony listeners, it's a very short and obviously, as all of them are wordless ones, it's just the white lady sitting next to an old man, running through, as I said, a series of emotions, from tearing her hair out to seeming forlorn and sad and crying and angry. It blacks out, and then it kind of reappears again with the rain and her looking at the rain, and then she slowly puts her veil on again, kind of almost as an affectionate kind of leaning towards the old man. Nudge, yeah, and then she goes, and then he actually finally becomes a little animated, and he kind of notices his surroundings. So I guess you can say the symbolism here, MK, is that it could have been a love lost or something, and he was deep in thought, and she was there right with him all the time, and it's only when she's kind of gone that he realises that he's kind of alone or something. I don't know. Is that... Have I misinterpreted? How does this one kind of roll?
That's actually a good take you have.
Yeah?
The first time I read it, I understood it as the white lady being misunderstood, having no one to talk to about things, because when normal people see her, they become scared and run away. But this old man seems to be deaf and blind, because there's a panel here that she tries blowing to his ear, but he doesn't respond.
Yes.
So that starts her ranting to the old man. And
okay, so she doesn't get the effect that she wants. She doesn't get the response that she wants from him.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just seems that the white lady's kind of lonely due to being, tagged as scary and dark and all that jazz.
Yeah, but they can be misunderstood as well. So that's so again, I'm really loving how Obreras has got, as you say, I can understand. You can read these over and over again and pick and interpret them in different ways, and that's the beauty of it, especially without having any word balloons. It's the power of the visuals which make it a good thing.
Yeah, it enables us to exercise our minds a bit, stretch our imagination further. That's what I really like about silent comics. Yeah.
Yeah. And the next one we'll go through is another little quirky one. There's a lot of ones on I guess exploration, and it's more because again we get into this transition from what we see as our reality, or as much of a reality as we know. There's that a young man in a dilapidated or how shall we say, it's almost like a broken city, like a broken buildings.
It's kind
and
of a dystopian setting.
But that is actually within what kind of looks like an enchanted kind of forest. And so I don't know. You can take us through this one. They giants, with the hairy legs.
Oh, that's what we call the capre, the ones that reside in trees and smoke cigars.
I love it. It is so surreal, isn't it? So you have these creatures that have hairy legs, hairy backs. They live in trees and they smoke cigars. I'm pretty sure you don't get that in any other mythology. I love it. But anyway, so they feature here. The gist of it, and I like it here because there's a nice use of colour, is what I'm assuming are the embers from the cigars, the ashes. Yeah. Kind of glowing.
The ashes are glowing as they fall down.
Yeah, and it gives a really nice effect. Like I don't know. It reminded me of... MK, bear with me. It reminded me of the Guardians of the Galaxy #1, the movie, when Groot releases his, glowing, I don't know what you call it, seeds or spores from his hand to light up the thing. That's the kind of yeah.
That was a beautiful scene.
Yeah, and it's the same thing here, I think, as well, because as you mentioned, it's a dystopian kind of area within, and this young man who's all dirty and he's scrounging around for food. He's kind of, you could say, bathed, or he sticks out his hand and there's nice little glowing embers that just like float down to him, and that's the end of this story, and that's all that we see from these. Sorry again, what were the names of these giants or these tree dwellers? Sorry,
they're called capre.
Capre, okay. And does that mean anything?
Yeah. I think it's a name too.
Okay. It's not a brand of cigar or something like that. Cool. So, I mean, that was sorry? So that was another story. And again, that was almost like a telling, because in between these stories, as you probably heard Looney's, in between these chapters, there's like a one page with multiple panels of these mythological beings, I guess telling all the other mythological beings their story. So this cigar smoking tree dweller, the Capra, gets off the podium to the cheers of the those unborn babies and the little gnomes that we saw earlier, and the white ladies, and it looks like it's is it the little gnome that takes up the podium next?
Yeah, it's his turn.
And why don't you take us through this one?
Yeah, this one is actually one of the more surreal ones in the book, because the first title panel, we see a blood stain on the pavement. Then the guy who sees it, it's actually outside his office, and he just goes to work. And then the next day, when he goes to work, he sees more blood in the pavement. And
very intriguing. This is intriguing. I love this. Yeah, go on.
He just says, he just shrugs it off, goes to work, and then the next day after that, he sees a lot of blood in the pavement. So he's a bit worried. He can't work, so he decides to go up on the top of the building. And we see the panels on the top of the building, of the view on the top, are really good for me.
Yes, they are. They're very good.
He sees a line of these little gnomes, what we call duende.
Yes.
And
it's great. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it's such a weird premise again. But go on.
Yeah, it's really weird, very surreal.
Yeah.
And the line of these duendes just jump off the building, and the guy's just, okay, what?
Yeah.
He's just, and he goes nearer as the duendes fall off one by one the line, until the last duende falls off, and the guy just sits on the edge of the building, and sees a very large duende.
We're talking about way taller than this high rise. The high rise only probably comes up to his chest. We're talking giant man here, people. We're talking huge, or it may be larger than giant man. But yeah, so there's a huge duende there, and and what happens next?
And the duende kind of looks towards the man, and he just walks away, and the man just compares the duende walking away to his himself. Yeah, it's really
it's very
weird.
It's very strange because he actually then views this giant duende in the distance, and it's a play on perspective, right? And so he's kind of squinting one eye, and he pinches his fingers like as if to hold the duende between his fingers, but the size of it as the giant is walking away. So it's a real play on scale,
perspective, and
perspective,
scale.
yeah. And then he kind of just says, "Oh, okay," and then he goes back down, right?
That's cool. Yeah, his curiosity is satiated. But just then we see the ending panel. There's a guy spraying water on the blood of the pavement, which is actually really funny.
Yeah, and he walks past. So just really madcap. It's very, very cool. I'd really, it would be cool if you do see the creator, MK, next time at a convention over there. You should really pick apart his brain and just ask, how he comes up with this sort of stuff, because it's really, it's quite intriguing,
I'll try.
Yeah. So we go through that one. Sorry?
Yeah, he's a cool dude. Given the time, we can talk about it, maybe.
Yeah. Oh man, he's cool. Really enjoyable little short stories. These, and I must say, and again I'll say again, MK, a lot more appreciative of these stories, going through it with you, because I'm getting the background of the characters and the mythology, and it's really interesting. It was still a good read before, but it's a lot more. I can appreciate it a lot more now. So again, in between stories, we go back to this place, which MK and I are now here, in this weird topsy-turvy place. The little duende's on the podium, or the mound. He receives cheers from the audience. They love his story. Off he goes, and then I'd say, MK, this is one of my favourites, only because it's so grotesque. We get the Tianuk, which previously you mentioned is kind of like the embodiment of like the evil of the unborn baby. Right? Yeah.
Either unborn or aborted.
Stillborn.
Babies.
Yeah, stillborn. Yeah. So very freakish, and even with this style of art, which is stylized, very stylized, with his goggly eyes and bumpy head. It's still a little bit freaky. So this next story, MK, it kicks off with the cover, so to speak, the black cover of a crying unborn or stillborn baby from a word balloon, and then we launch into the story. Take us through this one.
The story, there are actually I think 4 parts to these stories.
Yes. Yeah.
The first part starts with the unborn, the crying baby in the word balloon, and the guy is curious where the sound is coming from, so he searches for the source, and then he ends up in a comfort room, and where the noise is from a cubicle, and he opens it to see in a toilet stillborn child. And he looks outside the cubicle, and he's surprised that the stillborn child is gone in the toilet. And he looks around to search for it, but he is surprised when he sees it right under his foot and just goes on a killing spree. I really like the panels here. Just turn red.
Very much so. This is very much, this is a lot of loonies I know will appreciate this. This is a very horror element to it. I mean, Abresh uses some shadows here, plus the scary look of the Tianak as well, and then the red panels with the splatter of blood and entrails. It's kind of very gory. And it ends with, you just see some rib cages, don't you, at the end? He's eaten?
Yeah,
the man?
he's just eating. Yep, he eats the man. Because actually, this is the very accurate depiction of the Tianak's MO. He lures people by crying like a baby, and when they see him, he just ambushes them and eats the people he lures. Yeah, they're really, really scary. Seriously.
And then I love it at the end, after he finishes, he kind of goes back into the toilet bowl, and then you see him just underneath the lid, just the eyes and the silhouette of his head. He's just peering, waiting for the next victim.
Yeah, the first part ends that way. Then we go to the second part. We see him emerge from the toilet bowl, and maybe for me, I think this is his downtime, just waiting for victim.
This is the behind the scenes. This is the stuff that you don't see in between takes. So all the gory stuff is happening, and then you see the real world stuff of him just hanging around, just lazing around. Yeah, not much to do. This is a very short chapter. Yeah.
Yeah, because the third part happens a page after. We see the Tianak just looking at the toilet bowl, and he sees his reflection. He tries to disrupt the water to see if his reflection changes. And it's another downtime episode chapter, I think, for him, just waiting.
But it's also, again, stuff that you can kind of interpret yourself, right? Like, it's almost him. Well, it's him literally facing himself, and his own, looking at himself, and you wonder whether he's kind of, because he kind of plays with the water in the bowl, right? And he distorts his reflection, so he's kind of staring at himself, and he's fascinated by the fact that he can distort his face by touching the water. It's very I don't know, Loonies. Make it as you will, but it just gets you kind of like, oh, that's pretty seems profound. So
it's sometimes you just get deep thoughts from these pages.
Exactly. So then we go to part 4.
Part 4 is really, this is the more surreal part of the story of the Tianak part, because we see him just floating in the toilet bowl, and he decides to dive under, and we see him dive in the pipe. There's what you call it? There's shit floating around.
Yeah, a little bit of poo. He swims past a little bit of poo.
And he emerges on the other side. It's another toilet bowl, but this time it's what's really good here is everything is upside down. The panels, even him.
I don't know about you, MK, but that's how everything is down under in Australia, eh? Everything's upside down. He could well be in Australia here.
Yes, it's so. Because the people he sees here are not scared of him. Really weird.
It's weird. Some really bizarro world.
He walks out of the bathroom, of the comfort room, and the people are just happy to see him. They all look down at him and invite him on the table. The Tianak just walks, accepts the invitation. He just sits there, and this is where the weird part starts, because they open the main dish, I think, and the plate is empty, and the Tianak starts climbing on the table, and he lies on the plate of the main dish, and the people who invited him just start to eat him.
Yeah. And my gosh, and you see it in detail.
And they're just all smiles as they're chopping him around. They're taking parts of it, eating him, and we see a panel in here. He's still in his toilet bowl, and there's some kind of movement.
Yes.
With him in the toilet bowl as he as we see, this is actually his nightmare. He's being eaten by these people, just laughing, having fun eating him, and the chapter ends with him holding himself in a fetal position and crying, and we see his cries getting louder.
Yes.
And the Chanak's story ends with lady just let's say she noticed the sound.
Yes. So again, it's very cyclical. Like we see it again. So we started at the very beginning, because the very beginning there's a guy that hears Tianak crying, and he ends up being killed and eaten by the Tianak. And so you kind of look at and think, okay, so he's obviously haunted the Tianak by his own actions, and you can look at it at him looking at his reflection in the toilet bowl, having a dream about he himself being eaten, and then the vicious cycle happens again, you know, so that's a nice little piece of clever writing, but also done in a very cool, surreal way, because you don't expect that, you know, him to go swimming in the toilet bowl. So yeah, this would have to be one of my favourite stories, just because of the grotesque aspect to it. So yeah, as the story ends, and again we're returning to this realm that all the mythological creatures are, which MK and I are in, of course, as I mentioned. And again, he gets a lot of cheers from the other Tianaks and the other creatures there. So he goes off the mound. So then we have the guy. He seems from the beginning of the story, right? And he's looking on to the cheers of all the other mythological creatures.
Yeah, and we see there's a pause. I think the Tianak just walks off the podium, and the creatures are looking around, because I think this event is like a storytelling of each kind.
Yeah.
Each creature. So it's the guy's part as the representative of the humans to tell a story.
Yeah.
And we see in here the creatures just look at him and just expecting him to tell something. So he gets,
and this culminates. This is the final chapter, right?
Yeah, this is the final chapter.
So it ends on the and as the reader knows, part of his team, the humans. So it's a good way to finish off the issue 14.
Yeah, it's actually this story tells is kind of foretelling of our culture, because what he tells here is what happens when it's All Souls Day, All Saints Day here in the Philippines. In a much more exaggerated way. And can I start the?
Yeah, of course.
Let's see. We start the story. The story the human tells us starts with the cityscape and the people just flocking outside the city. They're going towards a rather big, that's actually a graveyard. So it's really big.
It's huge.
The graves just piling up one after the other. So it's really, really huge. We see them looking around, walking towards the grave of their loved ones, their family. We see them eating, kids playing around, jumping off graves, just exploring. We see people reuniting. They're cleaning the graves, putting up candles.
With cleaning some graffiti there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are people just lounging, playing tunes. There are vendors too, just buying stuff. And there's this one guy that's climbing because his grave is really on top. The grave he's visiting is on top. Oh, it's a girl actually. And then starts nighttime starts to fall, so they start putting up candles on the graves, and we get the panels zoom out for a moment to see the candles looking like the graves now look like the city because of the candles glowing and the graves just high, and the people are, and we can see a comparison of the city and the graveyard just and the night sky just just scattered with lights, and it's a kind of a heartwarming.
I think it's very
found.
I think it's a very warming image because it's a very affirming image for our notion of death, and what it does here in the comic is that it draws parallels between a city full of life, with in the night with all the lights on, to the graveyard, which is of death, but it's full of lights, and in a way it's full of life. And then it kind of rounds out by the parallels with the night sky as well. And it just seems to, I don't know, it's hard to describe, isn't it, MK? But it's kind of like a unity between everything, like life and death and the cosmos. It's all part of each other, It's all one thing.
Actually, when you say that, it's better put that way. I haven't really thought of that, so
okay.
It really just widens the understanding of this story.
Yeah, because the whole thing along the way, as you say, none of what you see the lead up when the people stream into the graveyard, none of them, show any signs of like sadness even or fear. There's one panel, and it seems like someone's praying in front of their grave, but you have people eating, amongst their loved ones that have passed away in the cemetery. You have people playing games. You have the kids jumping around. People busy cleaning, people singing songs. It's all very positive, So it's a really nice way to take to look at, how we should relate to death, the passing of our loved ones. So very, very warm stuff. It's a good way to.
It's more like celebrating the remembrance of memories of past loved ones, and basically that's what the spirit of celebrating the All Souls Day, All Saints Day here is for us to remember them, celebrate their memories, stuff.
Yeah.
And actually, it's not seen. It's not really depicted here, but we also serve food. Because it's a well celebrated holiday here, we serve food, and other tradition is to serve the the past loved ones with food on the altar.
Okay. Yeah. Which
I
think is I think there's a common thing that happens with some cultures as well. You know, leaving either gifts or possessions or food. As a way of connecting.
Yeah, I think it's similar because Mexico and our country is are colonized by Spain, so we have got similar cultures with one another, and we kind of we kind of celebrate it some holidays similarly too.
Yes. Yeah, it's it's very cool. Very, very nice way to end. It doesn't end there though. There's a little bit left, isn't there, to wrap up this story?
We see them cheering for the guy's story, and
the human, on the podium,
we see them socializing after the storytelling.
The goggly-eyed babies with the horse-headed people with the white women. Sorry, and
and we see a panel in here where the Tianak offers a drink to the guy, and he does the right decision to not take it. Very good decision.
Yes.
And
is there something there? Sorry, that you said that if you accept something from them or no?
Oh yeah, it's kind of a general rule actually to not accept food or drinks from the other realm.
Okay, right.
Because we don't know what will happen. Either it will bind you like what I talk about.
You mentioned before.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So it kind of is a general rule for all of them as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't
don't accept anything from them.
If you don't want anything weird to happen to you.
Yeah. So he doesn't, and he does, and he slowly slips away, doesn't he? He kind of leaves them to their socializing,
and he goes back to the elevator, and he goes to his apartment on 14th floor, and we see him just sitting there, maybe processing what he just saw and experienced, and we see him looking outside the window. It's still raining, and we see a panel of the city just with the rain, and that ends up the book.
Yes, it's fantastic. It's a great little ending there, and it's a good way to end with the human telling. Or, I guess it's the avatar for us, right? Just the reader, just telling the story, contributing. But I love it. I think it's really good. I'm really thinking, MK, I've got to. There's a Gmail here. I wonder. I should put it up in the show notes as well. For any loonies interested, and think what I'll do as well, MK. I might need your help with it. You have generously sent me some visuals of it, so I can probably use them. But I might actually create a photo album for our ITK community, as a reference to this actual ISLA RA sessions, because Loonies, you've got to see for yourself. So I might just take some of the panels of these mythological creatures and bits and pieces from 14, this book, which is the number one choice for MK for his ISLA RA, and so you get to see for yourself the Tianak, which is the goggly-eyed, grotesque baby, or the God, what's the other name? Duende, which is the gnomes, the little gnomes, all the white ladies. So I might do that. I might actually just crop some panels, and I'll create a little album so you can actually reference it. But I'll also put in there's an email at the end here, MK. Because I'm really seriously thinking I'd love to get a copy of this, because for me, having a Filipino background and having a young anak myself, a little Finn, it'd be great to take him through it, and it's just great to be able to explain to him some of these this mythology, this culture from the Philippines. So so there's sorry.
Yeah, actually, I think they're selling it online, and I can just give you a link to the online shop.
Oh, fantastic!
They have.
If you can, that'd be great. Yeah, for sure.
Actually,
so Loony. Sorry.
No, you can actually see more of his stuff in the link.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So Loony listeners, as you listen now, all that would have been done for you with the magic of podcasting. It's in our episode show notes, so just have a gaze there, click onto it, have a look, support your independent comic book creators, and consider maybe getting a copy of this. Looking through it, I trust you will enjoy it, having gone through with it, and especially using this ISLA RA as a reference, and our good Loony MK taking us through the understandings of the Filipino mythological creatures. It's fantastic. MK, I've got to tip my hat up to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking us through all your ISLA RA books.
I'm really honored to be in this podcast. Really.
No worries. It's been an absolute pleasure. We've got a beautifully nice, chunky size episode for you, Loony. So listen to it at your discretion. MK and I are here in the. Is there a name for this? It's not hell, is it? It's like the realm for mythological beings. What would you? Is there a name? Sorry, you may have told me.
I think it's kind of a nameless. Let's just call it the Void or something. I don't know.
The Void. Let's call it the ANOTHERVoid. See how?
Yeah.
So we got the other void. We'll call it. This is the ANOTHERVoid, and Loonies, of course. So we're here now. We probably better head off before we get offered some food or drink from one of these creatures. MK. So I'm going to have to dial in Frenchie to give us a lift from the mooncopter to get us out of here. But again, a big thanks to you for coming onto the show and for sharing your favourite comics, but not only that, a bit more culture for all the Loonies out there. Loonies, you can interact with MK, or as you'd probably see him in our community, Midkine. He's a very active Loony in there, so pop in, say hello. He's also in the Loony Bin, which is our 24/7 chat room. You too can join it. Just check out our group for a link to get in there. But a big thank you again. This has been our episode 99, so we are one episode shy of our centenary episode, which is going to be a big one. A lot of things under wraps. Won't reveal too much to you, but looking forward to it. It's going to be a big bumper episode. We're going to try and go one step further from our episode 50. So MK, I'm hoping. Have you been listening to some of the episodes lately, or?
Yeah, I think I'm one episode behind, but
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Well, we'll be
I can
sure
catch
to please. Yeah, for sure. Well, when this one drops, please share it around. It's great. We just love our ITK community, and yeah, we want to make it as involved for everyone as we can as well. So yeah, so share the love. Now, as usual, you can drop us an email on. You can get in touch with us in various ways by email, itkmoonnight@gmail.com. We're on, we have a Facebook page, facebook.com/itkmoonnight, and we have an awesome group at facebook.com/group/itkmoonnight, where our good friend MK is there. So any questions, again, if you have on this episode, feel free to drop him a line. Actually, having said that, MK, are there any ways to contact you that you'd like to give a shout out? Do you have a Twitter account or an Instagram account or anything?
Oh, actually, Facebook is the only platform I use besides Discord occasionally and Reddit. But
okay.
Yeah, I occasionally drop by Reddit. But I shameless plug time. I run a page. It's called Hitsuzen Core. I regularly put memes, reviews, and just stuff I share. I put there. It's mostly comic centered, movies, games, anything that draws my interest. You can just visit the page. It's Hitsuzen Core. Yeah.
Yep. So Hitsuzen Core. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, I'll be sharing this episode too.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. Great. Well, we'll put a link to Hitsuzen Core as well. So Loony, you can just check that out in our show notes as well. A good way to get in contact with MK. Apart from Facebook, we're on Twitter as well. The handle is @ITKMoonnight, easy enough. And of course, Instagram, YouTube, Tumblr. Just search for Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. Finally, iTunes ratings. If you do love what you hear, interested to hear more, or could tell us segments that you'd want us to do, we're more than happy to do new things. Please drop us a rating. High ratings would be highly appreciated. It just lets us get out there a bit more and to make ourselves known to other loonies who may love and share their passion for Moon Knight too. Once again, MK, a big thank you. I know hopefully this recording is seamless, but we've been convening on separate occasions to pull this all together. A big thank you once again.
Thank you too for this opportunity. I'm really, really honored to be here, and it's a nice experience too.
Oh, it's been awesome, and of course you're more than welcome anytime to come back onto the show, whether it be talking about Moon Knight or whether it be talking about more mythology. I want to hear more about those Filipino world eaters, so maybe I might hit up a chat with you in the Loony bin. That's it for this episode, Loonies. Thank you so much for listening. As I said, be ready. Get your spiked knuckles on, get your white masks on, get ready for the 100th episode coming up next week. But before then, as always, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.